Summertime unschooling. Maybe it's time for a test run. Would you like to test the waters and see if unschooling could work for you and the kids? I know a lot of you are still on the fence a little and would like to see if this could work before the fall gets going. That's when so many of us really want to have a plan for the new school year, even when we're not doing school in the traditional, conventional way. And I think that's a great idea. So, this is an opportunity to fly under the radar and see if unschooling could work. Let's create a plan together. I'm Sue Patterson, and this is the Unschooling Mom2Mom Podcast. I'm here bringing weekly reminders that, yes, you can do this. And yes, your kids will be okay if you choose something as unconventional as unschooling. And no, homeschooling doesn't have to look like school. That's what you were trying to get away from, right? My own three kids are all now in their 30s, and I have decades of experience to share with you. I want to help you really individualize this learning experience for your kids because when you do that, so many doors open. So let's start with the here and now. At least in the Northern Hemisphere, let's start with summertime. This is the season where we get a kind of permission slip, right? Whatever we choose to do, nobody is breathing down our necks, judging what you and the kids are doing. You will have to come to terms with that a little, but not in the summertime, right? Nobody really expects a lot from anyone during the summer months. I've created a new unschooling guide. I didn't realize I hadn't made any new ones since COVID, and I've always wanted to share how to see learning from a seasonal perspective. As unschoolers, our year doesn't start with the August back to school season. It starts whenever we want it to. And the best way to approach it is to dive into the season you're in. I've made this guide, Unschooling, this summer, and I'll talk more about it in a little bit, but it will help you shift your perspective to be less about a calendar year the school system needs to set and more about living in the here and now. Interests and activities vary based on seasons, and even that varies depending on where we live. It's all part of individualizing. What works for a family in Florida in June might be really different for a family in Ontario in the same month. The part that doesn't vary much are the principles of unschooling. Unschooling is about connection, no matter what season it is. It's the magic key that will help you know what your kids' interests are and create an environment where they can try things out without fear of grades or tests or judgments. I always tell my coaching group that everyone has jobs to do in an unschooling family. Parents' job or intentional focus is to deschool. Begin to see the learning that's happening without all kinds of manipulation and orchestration on our parts. Moms and dads have to spend some time unlearning some of the things that they've thought about kids and parenting and education. We've made big assumptions, and society has pushed us along those lines. And lots of the ideas that we leave school with ourselves are not even true. So while you're creating this great environment where learning can happen more naturally, we're spending some deliberate effort getting our feet on solid ground with regards to unschooling. Kids' roles, and they'll love this, is to explore and play and dive into interests. Some kids are deep divers, while others are dabblers. No right or wrong here, no competition, because the point is for them to learn more about their own preferences and how they're going to interact with the world around them. And that may not look at all like what you thought it was going to look like. And that's okay. You were making estimates based on your own life experiences. And frankly, those are a lot different from the experiences your own kids are having now. Then add in the layer that they have varying personalities and interests, and they're not mini me's. It's human nature to project, and that's what we've done. And we just have to rein that in a little bit. And also remind ourselves that our kids have their entire lifetime to learn what they need. That's a new concept for most of us, thinking they must be completely prepared for everything they may encounter as adults, all by 18. Think back to your own lives at 18. Odds are, lots of that stuff you had to memorize hasn't really been necessary for you as an adult. And the online capabilities and access to information is so much different now. If you've forgotten something, no problem. YouTube will have a tutorial. Google will help you dive deeper. ChatGPT may even have some suggestions. And that's only going to continue changing like that. Much better to live in the world with your kids now, showing them what really matters, helping them show us what really matters to them. When we can create this kind of partnership, we can see what our next steps are supposed to be. Our kids love building outside. We make sure they have tools and materials. Our kids love to pretend play. We make sure they hear stories and have props and costumes. We can hit garage sales or thrift stores so they have plenty of resources and it doesn't break the bank. And yes, our kids who love video games too, we make sure they have access to good Wi-Fi and the opportunity to share about their progress without their parents shaming them about loving technology. We can notice the skills they're developing or the connections they're making with other people online and right there in your own house. Are they sharing something cool or funny? It's not less than because it's online. Don't be dismissive. So let's think a minute about how we'd create a summertime unschooling plan. That's what you want to hear more about, right? What's cool about summer is the pressure fades a little bit. I mean, that's self-imposed pressure, right? At any point, you could stop stressing yourself out about it. You could tell those voices in your head to sit down and wait a little bit because there really are no educational emergencies. There's plenty of time to learn what they need. But this is the only summer they'll be the age they are, with the interests they have. So let's celebrate them and dive on in. You can grab a notebook and divide the page into 6 compartments. In each square, you can put the subject of language arts or math or science or social studies or fine arts, and then the last one, whatever they really want to be. Just divide it up into 6. Or use this free PDF I just made for you. It's linked at the blog post where I have the transcript. And it's also going to be in the show notes. So why reinvent the wheel? I have a little 1-page form for you. It's free. So when we think about a summertime unschooling plan, you don't have to worry about legal requirements or even getting plugged into support groups. Truthfully, most support groups usually fade out a little in the summer. You can keep an eye out for any near you. They'll crank back up in the fall with park days and field trip ideas. But this gives you some time to really notice your kids' interests. For instance, if they like to listen to adventure stories, get an Audible account. This way you can listen with your eyes closed and they can be transported. Maybe they like video stories more or movies. These are all language arts. Even when they're making up characters in their make-believe playtime or imagining scenarios, these are all story and character development, part of the creative writing process. Language arts. Maybe they're building sandcastles or mud forts. This is math. It's geometry and physics too. Or they're sorting and counting and dividing up the dessert or tracking the temperature or comparing gas prices at Walmart versus the gas station down the street. All math. You add in a little map reading and figure out how long it will take to get to the mall. And if that's different depending on the traffic patterns where you live, you'll be adding a little social studies to your math. Maybe you're going to farmers markets and seeing what's in season or attending an outdoor festival for a holiday or just for fun. And these are all examples of learning more about the community. And that's social studies. What if you read the historic markers or go home and look up who that famous person was? Or maybe there's a short video you could watch about the person or the situation they were living in. Backing up to that temperature tracking, it's also science, learning to watch the weather changes, understanding the radar on weather.com. Maybe it's time to pull out the sunscreen and figure out what various SPFs actually mean. I'm sure there's a YouTube video for that. See how one thing connects to another? Maybe they're interested in the rocks that are in the yard and how different they are from the rocks at the park. Why is that? Maybe you could plant some flowers in a sunny spot. Zinnias grow quickly and sunflowers are pretty impressive. Have you seen the time-lapse videos about seed sprouting? I think I'll link a couple for you at the blog post, but you could do your own research on YouTube. Now, something I'll share with you about science. My 9-year-old grandson goes to school. He just finished 3rd grade. He told me he hates science, that it's boring. And he loves looking through Grandpa's telescope and mixing potions and growing crystals and collecting rocks and seashells. And he told me, that's not science. That's just life. I like that. And I reminded him that science is way bigger than school science. And don't be fooled. It's way cooler than what they've been calling science at school. Just ordered a bunch of stuff from Amazon for us to do next week when he gets back from Colorado, where he's been out enjoying nature and hiking and just wallowing in science. I bring this up to you because maybe you think you don't like science or any of these other subjects. That's because of the way schools interpreted it for you. The super narrow perspective. You think you hate history, but you love Bridgerton. You think you hate geography, but you like to travel. You think you're no good at physics, but you love the speed that comes when you go down the big slides at the water park. You think you hate math, but you like buying stuff. These subjects don't have to be taught in a schooly way. They can be lived and enjoyed and completely reframed. And that's what you can spend the summer doing with the kids. Skip the workbooks and summer curriculum. Save your money for things like season passes to children's museums and theme parks and national park passes and art supplies and audiobooks and comfy play clothes and snacks. I'm not going to lie, kids being home all day does drive the food bill up a lot. You can grab the new summer guide that I've made, where I have pages of ideas for each of the subjects, plus week by week pages for you to write down what would be good to try this week and then next week. And you can make a rough plan for the summer, but save the details for 1 week at a time. Brainstorm with the kids about ideas, and then think of it as going on a scavenger hunt to see what subjects are weaving in there. It's usually more than one. Life is like that, messy, and nothing stays in its lane. Also, in case you missed it, I offer the strewing calendar for the summer months as a 3-month package instead of the usual 6-month or 12 months. It gives you some ideas of celebrations throughout the summer, and it's a great way to dabble with the idea of life offering random cool things to learn about. It's only $5 a month, so it's only $15. This special is only happening until June 15th. So if this sounds good to you, be sure to hop on. I'll put the link in the show notes and at the blog post where the transcript is. You can always join the membership group where the podcast listeners save the $99 sign-up fee, and I'll get you the link for that. Summer Unschooling Guide, it's already in there for my membership group. They get all the ebooks and unschooling guides as part of their membership benefits, and the strewing calendar every month. And you get to be around other parents who are looking at life and education and parenting from a different perspective. Less fear, more joy. Less narrow, more expansive. Less coercive, more connective. I'd love to help you move in this direction. So that's it for this week on the Unschooling Mom2Mom podcast. I'm glad we're here together figuring it all out. I hope these little 10-minute or so unschooling pep talks bring you the reassurance you need to keep being brave enough to do what works best for your family. Leave a review or a comment at any of the platforms you're using. It helps us spread the word so other families can find the support they need. So many people don't even realize they have options. Reach out if you need more from me, because I'd love to help you have a successful homeschooling experience. Happy unschooling, and we'll talk again next week.